First up, we have Brian Duffield with a Hulu original, No One Will Save You. So No One Will Save You is a twist on the home invasion film. It focuses on Bryn, who is played by Caitlin Dever, a creative and talented young woman who's been alienated from her small town. Lonely but hopeful, she finds solace within the walls of the home she grew up in, until she's awakened one night by strange noises throughout her house, and she unexpectedly finds herself being attacked by unearthly intruders. What follows is an action-packed face-off between Bryn and a host of extraterrestrial beings who threaten her future while forcing her to confront her past. So this movie, that sounds like, I know how it sounds. It sounds like kind of a generic just home invasion with a sci-fi twist of it's basically a panic room, but with aliens. And while that is interesting on its own, the real hook of this movie is that it is a story told almost entirely without any spoken dialogue. It reminded me a lot of that movie. I think it's was called All Is Lost with Robert Redfield, where he was like a sailor on a sinking ship, and there was no spoken dialogue except for the word "fuck" at the very beginning of the movie. And here you're kind of getting a similar vein of that. It's very heavily inspired by something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I don't want to get into too much detail of this alien species invasion plan, but they really start to target Bryn because she's not following along like the other people that of this planet, and she's actually fighting back. And how she does, it is very Home Alone, but it always keeps that air of tension with it. And before I could go on about this movie, what did you guys think?
Brandon, go ahead.
Okay. I love this. Originally when like the trailer dropped a month ago, I had to stop myself from watching it. I was like, I don't want to know anything else. Like this is a movie that is like perfect to go in blind or like not know anything going on with it. But I really enjoyed it. As a fan of like stuff like Primal and Adult Swim, or even the Quiet Place movies, like stuff with like little to no dialogue is always appealing to me. And so this like was right up my alley. And plus, I love Caitlin Dever; she's fantastic.
And she's a character that's like really in love with kind of that old school 50s style of both Community and fashion. And yeah, it's like, sup, girl.
Exactly. Like when this started, I was like, what time does this take place in? And then it started seeing some more modern things going on.
Yeah, that's kind of an appeal of this, because even though this is very set in present day, it is very much taking a lot of anachronistic touches with it. Like it's like most of the furniture in her house is very old fashioned. Even the fridge in one of the, I think, best set pieces of the movie, it's like very old school. She has like a rotary phone. And something I think works really well about this is because there's so little dialogue, you're forced to rely entirely on Caitlin Dever's performance and the production and the sound design from this entire crew.
Totally.
And on top of that, they managed to make the little green men, the gray aliens, they managed to make them scary as fuck in this.
Oh my, their designs are like terrifying. And as like the movie goes on, it just gets more terrifying when you see more of them.
And just how they act in this world, it adds so many layers of tension.
Oh, this scene's so good.
I know, right? I'm like stuck watching this scene now.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. Yeah, just from that one
Okay.
that one clip, it shows how tight the sound design is in this, how much of this is entirely relying on Deborah's shoulders, and she absolutely brings her A game. She is already one of my favorite working actresses today, and this just continues to show why she is so great, because she can take a character that is kind of bare bones in how she is presented, at least in the very beginning of this movie, and give so many layers and so much depth without saying a word of dialogue.
Yeah. Like, even before the aliens come in, there's like a mystery to her character, because you see how the rest of the community looks at her, and you're like, what is going on there?
Because she's basically the pariah of this community. It's like the post office guy is like throwing her packages around, but I could just wrote that off as he's just a postal guy.
Yeah.
everyone in her neighborhood is just kind of giving these like death stare glares whenever she is interacting with outside of her home. But Hunter, what were your thoughts on the film and on Deborah's performance?
Damn, this room's getting hotbox. So it is currently my number 4 favorite film of this year. I love this movie. So I'm this chat I run with these 2 fine gentlemen. I'm a big Twilight Zone nerd. Every Halloween, I throw on Twilight Zone. That is my shit. I think it is a flawless show, and to hit on that many episodes like Serling did is absurd. And this is maybe the best unofficial Twilight Zone movie I've ever seen, because it's such a Twilight Zone-esque plot. And even just some of the angles and stuff are very, like, especially a lot of the close-up shots are very similar to what stuff that Serling would do. You're just like, oh, this, like, he gets how to do something like this. And to Nick's point, the whole town is just so shitty towards her. You're like, God damn, what could she have done? And then
it was like that joke in the Boondocks in damn, what did he do to make them so mad?
Yeah. And
but when they actually reveal why this town is just really, really mad at Bryn, it's like the line of, cruel and unusual punishment, but at the same time, I get it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, I'm trying to think of how to dance around this, but it's one of those things that when you hear it, you're like, oh wow, that's fucked. But if you were in a small town like this is one of those things. This is like a teenage pregnancy happening in a small town where people are like, oh, did you hear about, like, it's one of those things that once it circles, it's like part of your identity in this town, unfortunately, because you're not in a bigger area.
And this character has been so isolated that we're following her after her mother has passed away, and this is really the only life she's ever known. So she really doesn't have any inkling to move.
Yeah, which is the horror aspect of, why don't the white people just leave? And
it's like, yeah, you're just a cute little white girl in this small town. Sure, you call the cops; they'll help you. And they give a real good reason why not, why that isn't the case. Especially as the movie goes on and some of this movie's other influences really start to show their face.
But it does a good job, because there is this point where you think she might be leaving, but this thing follows her, and you're like, oh shit, so you literally can't really go anywhere. So the movie does a lot of shit of like telling you without spoon feeding you, and that's one of those things in particular where you go, okay, she actually did kind of in theory try to get out, but she actually can't leave. So it's like, okay, I appreciate that you acknowledge that. But I'm a big nerd for old school creature design, like your creature from Black Lagoon, like that era of horror. And the design here on the creatures, I went, yep, this is what I wanted. I wanted this to destroy all demons, like Mars Attacks, like that realm. And
it looks very classic, but also still a little modern. It's very much not practical designs, which is one of my slight nitpicks with this. Because for as much as the aliens are focused on, I really wish they just looked more looked more natural in this world, because there is a little bit of that rubbery CGI. But this movie, it doesn't have the biggest budget possible. It's only like around 22 million, which you made this for that little, and kudos to you. And you got me to feel as tense as I was, even with some of this wonky design.
That it's one of those things though where I think that's just going to be like a nature of the machine, like with some of these more direct to to streaming movies. Like I get what you're saying, because I do think that they look a little rubbery at points as well, but it was never to a point where it took me like out of the movie. It's just something.
It's never crossing the line of something like The Flash, where that movie it's expected to be this like huge effects driven movie, and even in small segments that movie's CG still looks like shit. Here it's more forgivable because A, this has a smaller budget, and B, it's mostly shown at night when you actually see the little gray man.
It definitely takes more of a Cloverfield approach to like.
Oh, for sure.
You'll see a finger or a foot. Like it's just enough to get you to go, oh, okay. But then when you actually see the design, and there's a couple scenes where the design is like in your face, and and I won't lie, my ass was way too high at a couple points to be watching it. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, that's a close up.
My butt cheeks were clenched. It's like, ah.
Oh yeah.
Like there's one scene in particular from like the last 10 minutes that when you get there, you'll know.
Oh,
I know.
And you're just like, oh fuck. But at the end of the day, what a lot of people are going to be talking about is the ending. And
this has one of my favorite endings I've seen this year. And Brandon, you and I just recently watched Talk to Me together, and this movie's ending reminded me a lot of that in terms of how just kind of shaken I was by the ending of this film. And this is a movie with an ending that is that might rub some people the wrong way, but for me, it absolutely worked with this character and this story that Duffield was telling.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Hunter was saying with the Twilight Zone feel. Like this, it ends like a Twilight Zone episode, or like any kind of like sci-fi episode where you're expecting like something to go wrong, or like a ending that was not like shown or like foreshadowed in the beginning. So like I think if you like Black Mirror, Twilight Zone, stuff like that, then the ending is you're probably gonna like the ending.
It's very. What's interesting is that you can interpret the ending in a couple different ways. Like it's either a very sweet, hopeful ending, or it's shockingly dark, and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
it's either a very happy ending, or it's a like deal with the devil kind of ending.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Upgrade in terms of how.
That's a good.
Very good comparison there.
But as the movie goes on and as things are revealed, it's just a pleasure to watch. Is it Dever or is it Dever?
I've heard it pronounced both ways. I think in interviews she pronounces it Dever.
Okay, I'll just go Dever. But her performance, I mean, unfortunately, it will mean nothing at award season because horror.
It's horror. This movie's going straight to streaming, and the Academy is already not cool with horror.
Exactly, but I did a double feature of this and Prey, and I was just like, that was a great double feature. Just like two like streaming movies starring women that on paper you're like, this could be awesome, and then it somehow exceeds your expectations. I actually have the director. I'm blanking on the director.
Brian Duffield was the
director. Thank you. But he did another awesome horror movie in Spontaneous, which if you haven't seen Spontaneous, you need to definitely. That's a Brandon movie like a motherfucker.
Spontaneous was his directorial debut, and he was also a screenwriter and executive producer on other stuff like The Babysitter with Samara Weaving. He was a writer on Underwater with Kristen Stewart.
I like that movie a lot.
And he also he wrote both Babysitter movies, and he is also a writer for Love and Monsters. So he really
and I dig that movie a lot too. Yeah,
I absolutely love that movie. He really knows how to work in this this kind of space and genre film where it is poking fun at a lot of conventions, or it's getting more experimental within the confines of this very like set genre archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a scene that they tease in the trailer with these nails come out of the wall, and just in that scene is so goddamn cool the way it plays out, and that's what I kept saying over and over. I'm like, it's so cool the way this is being executed, in the way that I'm so invested in her story, and yet know so little until like the movie definitely holds out a lot until like the last third, but as it starts revealing more and more, you're like, oh, you were holding this shit back for a reason. Like this isn't incompetent writing. Like you're actually leading me on this journey.
And I feel like if I say what Black Mirror episode this reminded me of, I feel like that might give away some aspects of the ending. But it's one of those where after you know the reveal, it completely changes your perception of how you watch that episode. And I kind of felt the same way here with Caitlin Dever's character.
Totally.
It's one of those things. I'm very curious to rewatch it, knowing what I know about Bryn now.
Yeah, because I'm right there with you, because there's a Twilight Zone episode that I think would pair perfectly with this, but if I say which one it is, I think people would go, then so I'll just say, if you do a Google for like top 10 Twilight Zone episodes, you'll like, once you watch it, you'll go, oh, I should watch this now. I would do it in that order, by the way. But
I won't say the episode I'm referring to for Black Mirror on the stream, but if you've listened to my season 6 review, I think I dropped it there.
Okay.
Which you can do on our YouTube channel. YouTube.com/afternoon2. But moving on to our final thoughts. For me, I kind of had a very kind of low expectations for this. I don't know what it is about just movies that are coming straight to streaming. It's like, I know they're there, so I can just kind of pick them up whenever. So there's no real sense of urgency for me to watch any of them. But I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I really dug the execution of it, that this movie did manage to tell this really deep story about this character and dealing with isolation, with this kind of becoming the leper of this town through, and kind of seeing her overcome this adversity, and just admiring the filmmaking that you managed to tell this. And I completely understood everything that was going on in this character's head without without any spoken dialogue, except for like one line and maybe like 5 words that come towards like the second or third act. Besides that, this movie's sound design is absolutely horrifying. The creature design, it is so tense. When I first started watching it, I like turned off all the lights in my apartment. I just watched it on the TV. And like 10 minutes in, okay, I had to turn a lamp on. Nope. But for me, I give this a very strong tune in. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. And the only shame about it is that this is probably going to miss my top 15 just because there's so much good stuff that it's Hunter, what are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts on No One Will Save You?
Yeah, so this might get buried a bit because it's on Hulu. Like, Hulu is slowly starting to put out some really great original films, like between this and Fresh and Prey. Like, they're putting out some really good Little Monsters with Lupita, which if you've not seen Little Monsters,
underrated.
check that shit out. It's kind of crazy, but like kind of similar to Apple, they're slowly building up this catalog where you're going, okay, like Hulu's got some shit. I watched this 3 times in the first week. I watched it. I watched it on Monday when I got a screener for it. Then I watched it the Thursday night when it came out, and then I watched it that Saturday morning because I was sitting there going, okay, I kind of love this, but I want to make sure I love it as much as I think I do, and it's not just
Yeah, I get that feeling. It's like when you walk out of a theater or when you first watch something, it's like, do I really love this, or am I just kind of high off the experience?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, for me, it's not even like am I high off the experience, but it's more like, where's that experience rank with other stuff I've seen this year, and trying to be careful of recency bias. So, but I dig this so much. Like I mentioned, it's currently my number 4, right in between Guardians Volume 3 and Are You There, God, to Me, Margaret. I love this movie so much. Definitely watch this if you're a horror buff. But if you're a Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, Outer Limits fan, especially like in that genre, I cannot recommend this enough. This is I'm gonna go low. This is cinema on this.
Wow.
I dug the shit out of this. It is well worth your time.
Really, wow, I don't think I've ever heard you give this as cinema on stream, except maybe
a couple times. Not too. Yeah, it's Spider-Verse definitely, but I don't give them out often. But this is something that you need to check out. Just the paranoia that it will give you is fantastic. I watched this like at 5:30 a.m. one of the times I watched it, and I was just like, oh, it's like right before dawn. It's still dark out. Oh shit! Like it's
perfect.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, like check this out though, y'all. It's the one thing we haven't mentioned yet before I throw it to Brandon, it's a quick watch too. Like it's like 92 minutes, something like that. Like it's quick.
It gotta be, yeah.
And it flies by.
It's 93 minutes with credits.
Oh, that's not. And this is one of those cases, y'all. Like, not everything needs to be 2 goddamn hours. Like, you can make a 90-minute movie that's good. And if you're one of those people who's like, cinema's dead and all that shit, watch stuff like this. Support shit that's like off the beaten path a little bit. But check this out.
Yeah, and something that I talked about with both in my reviews for Talk to Me and The Nun 2, it's like there are still fresh ideas that you can have even with subgenres and with archetypes that are still very conventional. It's like on a bare bones, this is just another home invasion / alien invasion thriller, but just through how the story is presented, it gives it this fresh take. And same thing with Talk to Me, and it's why a movie like The Nun 2 kind of sucks so much, and why another movie I might be talking about later sucks so badly. But Brandon, get to your final thoughts for No One Will Save You.
I super really enjoyed this. I watched this like in the middle of the night alone, all the lights off, so it was perfect mood setting. I think this would make an absolute great double feature with The Quiet Place, second one, man. But the first, The Quiet Place for sure. But I said in my like Letterboxd that like Nick was saying, like this isn't like by far the most original thing, but it's what it does with like this concept that is like the most interesting. Like coming off the heels of other alien stuff like Nope or Quiet Place, I think it takes both of those, like what they do in there, and kind of like create something super different. And Brian Duffield. Sorry again.
Brian Duffield, you're the homie for this.
I like really liked his work in The Babysitter, and if you haven't like checked out his scripts and like how he writes them, I highly recommend looking into that, because it's such an interesting way he writes the stuff. Especially for this one, there's like a page floating around right now for No One Will Save You that is just so weird, but like you can totally get the vibe he was going from just from the page.
It's all spoken. It's all written just in the internal dialogue that is going on in Dever's head.
Exactly. So if you need something to watch, you're feeling something fresh, you're in the like scary, spooky mood, this is like perfect. Even if you're like not into like the traditional home invasion or alien stories, I think this is like there's something for you here. Like it's a really good time. And like you said, it's like 90 minutes. And even with that 90 minutes, I was like, where's this movie going? I have no idea. Like I could not like predict what was going to happen next. But yeah, I give it a super strong tune in for sure.
Yeah, and I think that really short length really helps this movie, because I feel like if it had gone on any longer, then that whole trope of just not really having any spoken dialogue, I feel like that would have like worn on the film. But it is cool that a movie like this does work so well. And it also looks like we're getting more films kind of inspired by this concept, like John Woo's next movie coming out later this year.
Let's go.
Which is a movie where Joel Kinnaman plays a silent hitman out for revenge, and it looks amazing.
Give me this.
It looks like we're getting more and more films inspired like this.
Well,
so
like
it's really cool to see kind of the nature of film and how certain trends really pop up, and especially when they are used as creatively and in No One Will Save You, them get used well, especially by filmmakers like John Woo.
Yeah, he's kind of talented. He's done a few things.
I guess he's all right.
I mean, he's all right. Like, I mean, he gave us one of my favorite Nick Cage performances of all time with
ever.
Face Off.
Yeah, and look, shout out to Kid Cudi. I like Kid Cudi. Like, so between this and X and Crater, which I would say you could watch on Disney Plus, but you can't. Disney, what the fuck are you doing?
And even Intergalactic, that animated.
Oh yeah.
Made last year, where he got really show out as a voice actor.
He's a really great actor. Like, he's really great most of the time. And I was just like, oh shit. Like, give him Kid Cudi guns. That's like if they play day and night while he's killing people, this is cinema.
Cinema right there.
I really want to ask John Woo is like when Cudi got casted, how tempted were you to change the title to Silent Day and Night?
Oh, that's good. Perfect. Let's see. There you go. So you want people hire Nick. This is why. But yeah, this looks awesome. Like, this looks like the Max Payne movie that I wanted.
Oh, we should have got. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It reminds me a lot of kind of that joke is like when Punisher movies were coming out in theaters, there was always like another that came out the same year that would have worked way better as a Punisher movie. It's like the year the one came out, we also got Man on Fire. The year Wars came out, we got Taken.
Yeah.
But going back to No One Will Save You. So 2 tune-ins from Brandon and I, and This Is Cinema from Hunter of the Real Pineapple.